K98talk.com, a leader in internet radio. So grab your seatbelts and take the ride of your life on K98talk.com.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
You know what time it is, so sit back and get ready for the Stafford Voice, your dose of conservative in a world of liberal.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, good evening, and I probably should say Happy New Year because, wow, we are off to a crazy start to 2016. Hey, I'm your host, Daniel Stafford, and yes, you are listening to The Stafford Voice, where we are conservative in a world of liberal. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about the Oregon Ranch situation. We're going to talk about Obama's unfinished business. You know what I'm talking about there. Gun control. We'll throw in a little bit of history about what happened on this day in history. And also, I've just found something. I found a soundbite from someone that, look, we've made fun of this person a couple of times. Tonight, her stupidity shines. Yeah, that's all I can say. I've laughed at this stupid soundbite probably 10 or 15 times. It is that stupid. And I think she kind of even realizes what she says. But anyway, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Look, there's many ways to listen. So, set this channel as a favorite, whatever you have to do so you don't get left behind. Because if for some strange, crazy reason you do miss the show, sit tight. You'll be able to catch the replay. There is no need to panic because I've got you. In the case you aren't already following on social media, you can find me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice, or you can look me up on the Facebooks, just searching for the Stafford Voice. Also, you can keep up to date over at thestaffordvoice.com. By the way, if you've got any questions, comments, or concerns, or if you've even got a story you'd like for us to cover, you can email them to me at thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Again, that's thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Woo! Look, America is on the brink. And I hope that what I have to say doesn't just go by the wayside tonight. I've given this a lot of thought, and I really hope that I'm able to say what I want to say because, like I said, I think we're on the brink of something big, but we have to know that we need to calm down just a minute. Now, I want to quote something. I mean, you guys know I love quotes. This one is from the Declaration of Independence. It's actually the last sentence. And it says, "And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor." Those men and women had no idea the full extent that they were embarked on. They had no idea. Only time would tell what they were doing. And yet, they were willing to risk their lives. It didn't matter. I mean, at the end of every day, they got down on their knees and they thanked the Lord for another day. They pledged their lives. They were willing to die for the cause of America. They were willing to give up everything they had for America. Why do I quote that? we've had two things happen over the weekend. We had the incident in Oregon at the ranch, and just today, of course, we knew this, we've known this since Friday, that Obama had quote-unquote unfinished business in relation to gun control. And he announced that come Monday, he was going to sit down and they were going to figure out what type of executive actions he could, or executive orders he could do to push gun control. I think maybe he forgot what the Constitution says, where our Second Amendment says a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What he's doing is trying to make it as difficult as possible for law-abiding citizens. He's trying to make it as difficult as he can for you and I to acquire arms. Why do we need arms? Well, we've got to go a little bit further. And that's even one of the things that I do when I'm studying scriptures, is when I find something really, really good that stands out to me, go back a couple of verses and you're going to find it. You're going to find something that stands out and really gives impact. So let's apply that to the First Amendment. Just basically one verse ahead of the Second Amendment. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, nor prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And then it continued on with the Second Amendment, where a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. In order to protect your First Amendment, you have to be able to defend it. The only way to do that is with the Second Amendment, and that is through having your own personal arms. Think of this for a second. Why do you have a lock on your front door? Why? Why do you have a lock on your front door? Is it to keep everybody out? I doubt that. It's to protect those closest to you. Out in Oregon, and I'll admit, I was way behind the curve on Sunday when this story really got heated. You have probably already done your research, knowing that this whole thing goes back to the 70s and beyond. It actually goes all the way back to the early 1900s when the government was trying to protect birds and wildlife, to make sure that we weren't killing too many birds because we wanted to use feathers and, put a feather in your hat and call it macaroni or something like that. Fast forward to the 70s and now we're starting to involve the Hammond family. And look, this is really unfortunate that the government is putting this much strain on the people. This is big. I'm not trying to mince my words. This really is big. That the government thinks they have the power to come in and control whatever land they want. They can just come in and overtax and overcharge you for the use of God's land because they think they know better. The government doesn't know jack crap about how to work that land. Just like when Bureau of Land Management went over into Nevada and tried to do this to the Bundy family. The Bundy family took a stand, and hundreds of American citizens went into their defense. If you thought that was going to be the end, you were fooled. Because here we have another land grab by the government, and they've been working on this for years. Like I said, since the 70s, they've pushed out and squeezed out everybody else. All these other ranchers that were working the land around this particular spot, they squeezed them out. You basically have one family that has close to, if not more, than 10,000 acres. We'll just use the round number of 10,000 acres. And I can't remember the figure that of what the government owns out there, but they pretty much own the whole damn state. Okay? Fast forward to the late 90s, early 2000s, where Dwight Hammond, who currently right now is 73, but I think he was in his late 60s. And then you've got his son, Stephen Hammond, who's now 46. They were charged with arson for fires that they lit, backfires from a lightning storm. These fires that were lit accidentally crossed over into the government-controlled land that was under the direction of the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. Hats off to the Hammond family, because if it wasn't for them, a lot more of the land would have been decimated by that fire. If you've worked land or seen somebody work large swaths of land, you will know that one of the best things you can do to help control vegetation, and when you control vegetation, you're able to further help the wildlife population. Okay? One of the things you do is you do controlled burns. It does take a while for the land to, I'm going to use probably a bad choice of words, but for the land to recover, it takes upwards of 2 years for it to fully recover and to start really producing. It's a cycle. Give it some time, then they come back, and after they've done a controlled burn on a whole nother area, after years go by, it becomes overused. So they do these controlled burns. So in essence, the Bureau of Land Management, the federal government, should have thanked the Hammond family for helping. But that's not what they did. They came in, and what it says is that 3 years ago, at the time, the U.S. District Judge in charge, who is now retired. His name was Michael Hogan. He's the one that sentenced the father, Dwight Hammond. He sentenced him to 3 months in prison, and the son, Stephen, he sentenced him to 1 year. These guys served their time. However, because of what happened, there was a mandatory 5-year minimum sentence that's required. Minimum 5 years, okay? However, Hogan, District Judge Hogan, reduced the sentence to the 3 months and the 1 year. He reduced it, saying that it would have violated the constitutional prohibition against cruel and unusual punishment, adding that it would have been, quote unquote, grossly disproportionate to the severity of the offenses, unquote. By the end of October last year, these guys have served their sentences. But guess what? U.S. District Judge Ann Aiken deemed that she comes out and says that they didn't serve enough time. It was too short under federal law and ordered them back into prison. But as always, you got to look a little farther into what's really happening. Why would some judge just blatantly come out of the woodwork and say, no, you didn't serve enough time. Nope, get your butts back in prison. Why? Well, who is U.S. District Judge Ann Aiken? Guess who she was appointed by? Anybody? She was appointed by President Barack Obama. Look, if you have a problem with the sentence that was handed down by the original judge, you have a problem with the original judge, not with the Hammonds. If you have a problem, bring it up with the previous judge. Put it on him. He told you in his defense that it was a little out of line for what they were doing, and actually they helped control the burn, helped control the fire, and in making sure that it didn't get out of hand. So he was a little lenient. That's what a judge does. Offers a little leniency in certain cases. Again, there's way more to this than what we've touched on right now. And I think we even need to hear from Ammon Bundy, one of the sons of Cliven Bundy, who went to the area to actually help keep things under control. Because after all, you know, when the government comes knocking on their door, on the Hammond's door, and whisks off the men of the family, somebody's going to have to remain there to help work the land and tend to those cattle. They've got hundreds and hundreds of heads of cattle. They don't just take care of themselves. So let's see what Ammon Bundy had to say about this. And this just, I believe, came out today, or just earlier today. Check this out.
Other than just citizens that care and feel like it's time that we make a stand to protect our human rights, we didn't really know what to say. But we felt that we'd give ourselves a name, at least so that we can be reported that way, and we could be more organized in that effort, and that would be Citizens for Constitutional Freedom. Our purpose, as we have shown, is to restore and defend the Constitution, that each person in this country can be protected by it, and that prosperity can continue. We love our country. We love the people in it. We know that we are struggling to be able to know what to do as a nation, and in many ways we are dividing, and we hope that we can restore those things, and that we can unite as a people in protecting individuals, that we will not forget about how important each person is.
Okay. He touched on something really, really important. And that is, the government is trying to further the divide. In 2015, we saw unrest in Ferguson. We saw unrest in Baltimore. And it came back to Missouri with Black Lives Matters, with the whole Black Lives Matter crap. Look, yes, America is on the brink, ladies and gentlemen. We either have to choose what's right or choose what is wrong. Let me touch on something here real quick, and this comes from Eric Odom. And if you don't know who Eric Odom is, then you need to either, what you need to do is you need to go over to, Grassfire. Grassfire.com. It's a conservative / libertarian leaning social media site. And he's all over Facebook as well. Eric Odom, super smart dude. And I found something that he said. I can't remember if he posted it yesterday or if it was early this morning. But Eric Odom said, in short version, it's a trap. And he's talking about this whole Oregon situation. He says, in short version, it's a trap. He says, I recently saw a veteran discussing this, and he said something that stuck with me. He said, proper political or military strategy requires two things: brains and balls. And he goes on and further says, why do I say it's a trap? Well, for starters, the Fed is eerily silent at the moment. They aren't closing or blocking roads. They aren't surrounding the area. They aren't showing up with military-style vehicles and troops. It's almost as if the Fed is standing back just waiting for a much larger crowd of patriots to show up and dig in. It's almost as if they're in stealth mode, waiting for it to get bigger, with a lot more people involved. You see, if we're talking 30 or so people holding pocket constitutions and calling for the Bureau of Land Management, BLM, to back off, the Fed has a PR problem, and the majority of the public isn't on their side. But if we're talking 300 plus people with vehicles full of firearms and supplies, all of whom are all over Facebook pages, Patriot Group websites and forums, etc., then suddenly the government has the narrative they want. Now, if you're in the chat room, John brought up a great point, and that is box in your enemy and cut them down, a tactic developed by Hannibal. That's exactly what the government is trying to do. They're trying to box in the few remaining patriots. Whether they stand there fully armed, showing their arms, and advertising them, they're trying to box things in. They have a motive. They so desperately want to label this domestic terrorism. And even worse, they want to label it domestic terrorism by way of right-wing, quote-unquote, terrorists. Can you imagine? Okay, so the last point that he says here that I want to touch on from Eric is, he says, remember that during the American Revolution, the Founding Fathers didn't always take to the fields in traditional face-to-face battles with the British. They knew they were outmanned, outgunned, and didn't stand a chance that way. Instead, they coordinated all kinds of various political and military strategies, many of which didn't involve any kind of shooting or fighting at all. He says you have to pick your battles wisely and pick the way you want to fight them very carefully. Look, you have to put a brain to your brawn. You can't just get out there, guns a-blazing. I mean, look, that makes for a great made-for-TV movie. Guns a-blazing. I mean, you remember the whole Doc Holliday and Tombstone. Look, it makes for a great movie. We're not living a movie. We're not. You see, image is everything. Image is everything. And I believe Glenn Beck said today that this is one of the oldest stories in the book. He says, you want to change the world, you've got to be peaceful. Yes, to an extent, yes, you have to be peaceful, but you have to put a brain behind it. You have to outsmart them. You have to have tactics. And then he goes to touch, he touched on something key here, and everybody's talking about this, where he says that they're just peacefully occupying this place. Now, let me take you to Ferguson. Let me take you to Baltimore, where they're burning cities down to the ground. How were they imaged in the press? As people that were wronged, that needed to be listened to, that you can understand what they're trying to say, that they really are just frustrated. They burned the city to the ground. And they needed their own space to be able to burn cities down. They needed a safe place where they could go and loot and riot and set cop cars afire. And now you've got the infomercial pimp, Montel Williams, who's out there waving his little flag, where he said, let me find his tweets. He sent out a couple of tweets. He says, it appears hashtag Oregon under attack by a bunch of undereducated terrorist buffoons who follow hashtag Clive and Bundy. Shall we send them to meet hashtag ISIS? Hey, listen here, you pansy pussy, who, by the way, will not come on my show. I've asked him numerous times to come on the show. And this was even back with the Andrew Tamorisi thing. I asked him to come on this show. All he did was tucked his damn tail and ran off. He's a pussy. Just like the guy sitting in the Oval Office, and who's only been there, 3 or 4 times? We're even lucky he found his way to the Oval Office. Listen here, Montel. Yeah, you give me some arms, guess what? I'll go kick some ISIS ass. Because I know you're too pussy to do it yourself. You're a disgrace to the Marine Corps, by the way. You're on par with Horseface Carey. Suck it. And by the way, Cliven Bundy is a patriot. He stood up for his land. He didn't have to get out there, guns a-blazing, and say, hell no, we won't go. He stood there and stared down the federal government in the eye and said, "Get off my land." And a couple of days later, they stood down. The government knows that they'll get their asses handed to them if they go over there and try. Even try in Oregon. They know that's not a fight they want to take. But it goes against the president's agenda, which is making sure that he is able to finish his business that he has started out to do, and that's gun control. The other tweet that Montel Pussy Williams said, "Totally fine with a massive use of deadly force in Oregon to take out Ammon Bundy. Hashtag Oregon under attack." And then he his next tweet right after that, and kudos to him. It only took him 8 minutes to figure out how to word this properly. Maybe he was trying to do some spell check. He says, "Then let's give them some. Put this down using National Guard with shoot-to-kill orders." I'm sorry, Montel. Why don't you take that bloody tampon out of your ass? Because the last thing you want to do is put the current National Guard against some of those guys who were standing up in Oregon ready to stare down the government. Do you know who it is that's got arms over there ready to protect the land of America? Do you know? Listen, sackbait. Their prior service, they carried out their orders, and they are currently doing so. You know where you swear to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America? I guess maybe you forgot your oath. Flippin' pantywaist. God, I hate that guy. Probably a good thing he's never come on my show. But yes, we're on the brink of losing some of our very constitutional freedoms. One of which is the Second Amendment. If you make it difficult for law-abiding citizens, who in the hell is going to protect their neighbor from the likes of those who looted up Ferguson or ransacked Baltimore? If guns were so damn bad, tell the Secret Service to lock them away because you don't need to be protected by guns. Hillary Clinton doesn't need to be protected by guns. If anything, the government is going to botch Oregon like they did Waco. So, earlier I made mention that, yes, one of Obama's unfinished pieces of business was to work on gun control. He wants to work on gun control. So he came out today, and this is what he said.
Before the new year, I mentioned that I had given the charge to my Attorney General, FBI Director, Deputy Director at the ATF, and personnel in my White House to work together to see what more we could do to prevent the scourge of gun violence in this country. And I've just received back a report from Attorney General Lynch, Director Comey, as well as Deputy Director Brandon, about some of the ideas and initiatives that they think can make a difference. And the good news is that these are not only recommendations that are well within my legal authority and the executive branch. But there are also...
Okay, listen. Shut the hell up. I can't even listen to that soundbite anymore. Unfortunately, I had to get it ready and queued up earlier tonight. I've had to listen to that thing 3 or 4 times, and each time I wanted to stick a damn ice pick in either one of my eardrums. Obama is so damn smart. He has to assemble people together to say, yes, master, you know, you can do what you want to do. It's okay. The Constitution says that you can do it. The only thing gun control is going to do is hurt law-abiding citizens. Now, Thursday. This Thursday, President Obama is going to get out there with the help of CNN, and he's going to hold a town hall to help sell this BS to Americans. And he's going to get up there on the 5th year anniversary of Gabby Giffords. Oh, yes. We all remember Gabby Giffords, don't we? Gabby Giffords was shot by an attacker. His name was Jared Loughner. And he's going to use Gabby Giffords for a reason that we need to pursue executive gun control. Get this. Jared Loughner passed a background check to acquire the gun that he then used to shoot and wound Gabby Giffords. He passed the background check! Oh my God! Maybe we need to figure out something else other than a damn background check. Because mentally unstable people still have the opportunity to acquire a weapon. Who in the hell knows, 5 years from now, hell, I'll probably become a crazed lunatic. The voices in my head keep yelling at me the way they have been lately. We're in for a world of hurt, ladies and gentlemen. You can be completely sane one day and flip a lid 3 years later, albeit having safely acquired weapons with the proper federally regulated background checks. And guess what? You can still flip a lid and go completely batcrap crazy. Gun control is not going to do anything but hurt the law-abiding citizens. It will do nothing to take weapons out of the hands of criminals. Criminals will always be able to get a weapon. Criminals will always be able to go to the kitchen and pick up a steak knife and go on a stabbing spree. They will always be able to go to Home Depot or your local home improvement store, buy a hammer, and hit somebody in the back of the damn head. You don't need a gun to kill anybody. You really don't. We're on the brink. But you know what? Let's change course for a little bit tonight. We can talk till we're blue in the face, which would be a really sad state, turning blue. I mean, then you'd probably look like a Democrat or a Smurf, one of the two. Hell, maybe the Smurfs are Democrats. Who the hell knows? We're going to change the tone. And we're going to... Look, we're going to flip the script here in just a minute. Now, I want to play for you tonight's campaign roundup. It's short, it's sweet, but it's some of the candidates who are still out there in the running. Some of them you've probably forgotten about. But here's what they've said over the last 24 to 48 hours. When we come back, we'll talk.
Hillary Clinton created ISIS with Obama.
Every one of us has a constitutional right to protest, to speak our minds. But we don't have a constitutional right to use force and violence and to threaten force and violence on others.
Look, I think it's a legitimate thing to be angry about the direction of our country. You should be upset. You should be very upset. I work there, guys, so I can tell you there are people that run for office and then they get there and it's like, all right, I won. Now I can do whatever I want. And
President Obama has been lawless in his use of executive orders, whether those executive orders are around immigration or whether those executive orders are around gun control.
All the things the president's done, whether it's Obamacare or immigration, all are in excess of his authority under the Constitution, under the law.
Okay. Yes, this is the Stafford Voice. I'm your host, Daniel Stafford. Now, before we go to break, I want to remind you guys about my friends over at RWNJ Funding. And I've hinted to this since before Thanksgiving. I've hinted to this since before Thanksgiving. We're already in 2016. We're, 4 days into it. And we are on our 4th day of our pledge drive. Now, when I was ready to put together the idea of doing our pledge drive this year for the show, there was only one name that came to mind. How am I going to do this? Now, I've told you guys how awesome RWNJ funding is. So I put it to the test again and went over there, created created the page so we can hold our pledge drive. I'm super, super happy with the results so far. You guys have got to check out RWNJ funding. They're awesome. Seriously, they really are. Please do so. Head over to rwnjfunding.com. Again, that's rwnjfunding.com. And hey, if you've got a couple of seconds, take a look at our pledge drive. If you're enjoying the show and you want to help feel like you're making an impact, because after all, this show is listener funded, and you're the reason why we are here. By the way, we're here every Mondays and starting Thursdays this week, Mondays and Thursdays, same time, same bat channel. But I would not have picked a better place other than RWNJ funding. They're top notch. I mean, they're constitutional. I can't say enough good things about them. So I'll just leave it at that. Head over to rwnjfunding.com. Let them know you heard it here. So when we come back, we will hit on this day in history, and this is when we're going to flip the script. We're going to flip the script. This is really, really cool. Hope you enjoy when we come back from the break. We'll be right back.
Red Nation Rising brings you Town Hall Radio.
From a single tweet to 3 million a month, our community is a force to be reckoned with on social media.
So don't miss our show, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Our chat room is our co-host, and you ask the question.
Join us and be heard.
So get ready to sound off on Red Nation Rising Radio. No one else is going to do it for you.
There's a wild, wild whisper blowing in the wind, calling out my name like a
but I'm not the type of guy that jumps into anything without first doing my research. And when I was looking for a holster, I'll admit I was having one heck of a time. You know what I'm talking about here. You find one you like, you try it on, it would be clunky. Another one fits good, but costs way too much. So you try on one last holster. It was slim, lightweight, priced right, but lo and behold, you slide your pistol in, and it falls right out. So what do? You've tried all these mass market holsters. Well, go custom. I know what you're thinking. I thought it too. Too pricey. Wrong. My guy over at Rebel Road Tactical will not only put together the perfect fitting, hand-molded, hand-assembled, custom Kydex holster, but you'll get it at an affordable price. Don't wait. Contact Rebel Road Tactical today at 682-217-4579. Again, that's 682-217-4579. Place your order.
It's the dramatic reinvention of talk radio.
Here come the spy dolphins.
The only thing that can cure racism is Robert E. Lee's penis.
Who named this cat Limberbutt McCubbin? A Trump-Biden debate.
Plugs versus rugs. Real serious nonsense. The show's so bad, you'll laugh at us.
The worst podcast. We obviously hold that title.
Mondays, 9 p.m. Eastern on K98 Talk.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, we are back. Wow. What a powerful first, I'd say half to the show, but we're almost done. Okay. This is one of those fun ones. We're going to kind of flip the script and throw it right back in their face. You know, this whole gun control debate crap, get this. Back in 1847, okay, is when this one took place. This little-known company, they were faltering, but luckily, on this day in history, it was saved by winning a contract. I'm gonna save that for later, because this is just awesome. Anyway, so handguns at the time were not the practical weapon for self-defense and close-quarter fighting. No. Most Americans, they preferred knives. And, you know, those big Bowie knives, that's one of the ones they preferred. Well, all of that changed in 1836 when a man by the name of Samuel Colt patented his percussion-repeating revolver. It combined a single rifled barrel with a revolving chamber that held 5 or 6 shots. And when it was cocked for firing, the chamber automatically revolved, lining up the next shot with the barrel. They weren't as accurate as hunting rifles, okay? But with some practice, you could be pretty reasonable at short distances. If you put in enough time, experts were somewhere, they were pretty precise, somewhere around 30 to 40 yards. Well, a lot of this was because of the rifling that was cut into the barrel, and it gave some stability to the rounds, and it helped increase the accuracy. But accuracy was less important since a missed shot could be quickly followed up with others because of the revolving mechanism that he came up with, okay? Well, so it was on this day in history, January 4th, 1847, that Samuel Colt rescued his gun company by winning a contract to sell the government 1,000 of his .44 caliber revolvers. Now, even though they weren't cheap, by the early 1850s, they became inexpensive enough for the Americans to favorite the gun as for those who headed west. And between 1850 and 1860, Colt sold 170,000 of his quote-unquote pocket revolvers and roughly 98,000 belt revolvers, mostly to civilians, get this, looking for a powerful and effective means of self-defense in the Wild West. Whew. Back in 1847, we were still using weapons for the means of self-defense, let alone a little faltering company named Colt, who is by far one of the most revered guns out there right now. Colt, who saved his company by winning a contract and selling guns, selling that incredible .44 caliber revolver to the government. He sold them 1,000 and it saved his company, and as we know, the rest is history. And, whew, okay. Do we have time for last... Yeah, you know what? We got to get it in. I've got to. You know what? This is our last break for the evening, and when we come back, we will do our Who Said That. We'll be right back.
K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we are expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level, or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at sales@k98fm.com.
This is JD.
And this is Stacy.
Join us Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Game On. Remember,
Lock up the children and the old folks.
Game On, the home of liberservative conservatism.
Where no one is safe, no one is spared, not even the hosts.
Oh, that was supposed to be a spin cycle. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. We love you anyway. Right round, baby.
Self-monitoring
right round.
Ebola
Anyway.
radio strikes again.
Anyway.
Anybody see the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? Where's the host monkey? For God's sake, I need an antidote. Just do your rant. Let's pop out of the segment.
Find us on Twitter at JD and Stacy.
You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whether you're an employee or business owner, when it comes to the correct course of legal action, it's the first step that is important. And make that first step with attorney Ted Hong. You need someone you can trust and has the experience you need when it comes to workplace and employment law. If you've lost your employment due to discrimination, false accusations, or being denied benefits, you need Ted Hong. Or if you're an employer who wants to ensure compliance with workplace regulations and labor contracts, you need Ted Hong. Ted and his team also cover family and property law and estate litigation as well. Ted has over 30 years of experience, and him and his amazing legal team will provide you cost-effective legal consultation and make the experience all about you and your needs. For more information or to set up a consultation, contact the law office of Ted Hong at 808-933-1919 or visit tedhonglaw.com. Ted Hong, an experienced and principled attorney you can trust. 808-933-1919 or tedhonglaw.com.
Conservative in a world of liberal.
The Stafford Voice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've only got a few minutes left on the show, and we're going to close it out with style. That's right, it is time for Who Said That? All right, and if you're new and you don't know what Who Said That is, let me give you the rundown real quick. Who Said That is our last segment of the evening, and it's where somebody out there in the media, either whether it's a liberal, a conservative, libertarian, it doesn't matter. If you're out there and you say something that proves without a shadow of a doubt you are completely stuck on stupid, we're going to call you out. We're probably going to laugh at your expense. And tonight is no different. I mean, at the start of the show, I told you this was funny. I've listened to it more than a dozen times. I laugh. I'm laughing just even thinking about it. It's that funny. And towards the end of this little soundbite that you're about to hear, I think she even realizes how dumb. I'm not going to say stupid. I'm going to say dumb. I mean, there's dumb, D-U-M, and then there's stupid. This one, hands above the rest. Anyway, without further ado, I present to you tonight's Who Said That?
Shouldn't officers be the number one folks behind gun control?
Well,
Well, you do have a lot of Second Amendment officers. I mean, I happen to favor carrying a gun myself. I don't think there's much wrong with it. The reality is that how are we going to keep the illegal guns away from people? We can. It's a very easy
But a lot of people shoot their wives with perfectly legal guns.
And?
So they wouldn't if they did not have them.
We're not going to take guns away from people. We're just going to make it harder for law enforcement.
But a lot of perfectly good people shoot their wives with handguns. With legal ones, too. And the guest on Ignoramus's show, the guest says, his response, and? Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Oh, I almost want to play that again because it's only 30 seconds. It is absolutely hilarious. Did you catch how dumb she sounded? I mean, she caught herself where she says, and them, like, oh my God, I'm stupid. I'd do a facepalm right now, but this is live television and I can't. Oh, listen. Melissa Harris Perry, guns don't kill. The dumbass behind the trigger is the one that's killing. It's the guy or gal with a deranged mental state that does the killing. Guns don't kill. If guns killed, then what we need to do is put forth legislation, and we need to ban forks and spoons and knives because those are the utensils that are making people fat. And, Michelle Obama's got unfinished business with trying to force people to eat cardboard. Oh my word. Listen, Melissa Harris Perry, tonight you are completely stuck on stupid. Congratulations. Oh, you know what? That's all we've got for tonight. And, God willing, your host, Daniel Stafford, host of the Stafford Voice, will be back Thursday. Because remember, we are live every Monday and Thursday, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. Same bat channel, same bat time. We'll be back this Thursday. We're going to talk about, who knows, it's like days down the road. Somebody else is going to say something stupid, and we'll probably make fun of them then. Anyway, follow me over on the Twitters at Stafford Voice. Look me up on the Facebook by searching for, you guessed it, the Stafford Voice. Email any of your questions, comments, concerns, or story ideas, and we'll cover them here on the Stafford Voice. Send them to thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Again, that is thestaffordvoice@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and until next show, thanks and God bless.